Good morning. I am Maria Figueroa, a member of your Board of Trustees. Welcome to you, old friends and new, young and seasoned. You are an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first or thousandth Sunday in our midst, we are stronger because you are with us. Whether you join us in person or online, we are glad you're here. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learned, all loved. Just as you are welcome here. As we do each week, and as we begin our gathering, I respectfully acknowledge that I speak to you today from occupied Puyallup and Coast Salish ancestral lands. I pay respect to elders past and present and extend that respect to their descendants and all Indigenous people. We continue to join you in multi-platform mode. You'll see some of us in the sanctuary and others Zooming online. For those meeting in person today, we invite you to join us for coffee time following the service. Red mugs are for visitors who would like to chat. For those in person, this facility is equipped with a hearing assistance system. Devices are available in the back of the sanctuary. We continue to need volunteers to teach RE, be celebrants for the Sunday services, and service chat chaplains, online host, or on Zoom. Or be an online host on Zoom. Please see Chrissy Kim or other board members that we have the purple name tags, or sign up at, you can email board@tahomauu.com to help. This is amazing. We've got like 2 pages of announcements. So I just will pick a few. As you may have noticed, we have little baskets here for our relocation assistance, and you can read more about that. But there's also for our safe parking, if you weren't aware of that also. Those are collections, but you can also get involved if that's something that you would like to help with. And then there's knitters and crocheters are going to start up in our middle and high school. So if you have extra yarn, that would be appreciated. And please note that next Sunday is going to be kind of special. We're going to have an ice cream social with the new minister afterwards. It's kind of a celebration of our new minister and a new start to the new year. And along with that will be the in-gathering that we do yearly, our water service. So, I mean, I always forget to bring a little portion of water that we all bring in and then put together to symbolize, our in-gathering. But if you don't remember, don't worry about it. We usually have something. But if you do remember, that's great. So I thought I'd mention that. And there's also a third Friday potluck coming up. So check out your 2-page wonderful information page. Thank you. Now let us join together in worship.
Good morning. Let's give a round of applause for Doug. Thank you for that live music. I hope everyone is enjoying these last few days of summer. I know it doesn't quite feel like it's still summer, but technically it is still summer. Oh, you guys want to see my face? Maybe. There we go. Ta-da! Okay. Thank you for coming, both in person and those of you who are joining us virtually. Welcome. My name is Sharon Gold. I'm your part-time administrator. Most Sundays you'll find me in my office, next to Reverend Crystal's office in the back there. This is only my second time giving a sermon, so bear with me a little bit, but I learned a lot from the first time. So the opening words today are from an Instagram post on the 9th of May, 2021 by Brittnay Packnett Cunningham. She's an educator, activist, writer, and award-winning podcaster and leader. She posted, if you grew up in St. Louis, you grew up going to the magic house. That static electricity ball, that one that made your hair stand up on end. I always wanted that picture, except me, as this Black girl with 4C hair and these braids and balls, we're not going to get it. But true to my mother's form, she stood there and smiled her biggest smile, knowing full well that that thing was not made for me or her. Those highly spritzed freeze style at the time was not going to be affected by the electricity either, and nor because her hair was already up. A loving mother never limits your dreams. She never tells you what's impossible, only that it's all possible. She never crushed my joy, only expanded it. And whenever I came face to face with the reality that something in this system wasn't built for me, she opened up new worlds of possibility, not to fret what's not for me, but to celebrate all that is for me. And to date, to create what can be for all of us. Here's to the mothers, the grannies, the aunties and big sisters, the cousins, the mentors, play mamas and big mamas who have mothered us all and expanded us beyond what we thought possible. I will now hand it over to Patty.
Good morning. My name's Patty McPhee. I will be your celebrant this morning. I'm so happy to be assisting Sharon with this service. Now, I would like to invite Tanya up for Tanya will be lighting our chalice. Thank you so much. After she has lit the chalice, we will join together in the chalice lighting words that will be on the screen, right? We're having technical slowness. I wouldn't call it difficulties. It's just we're a little technically slow. Go ahead and light it. Go ahead and light it. Yeah. She was just waiting for the words to be up. They want to be able to see you lighting it too. Thank you very much, Zoomers. Please join me in the chalice lighting words. We light this chalice in deep respect for the mystery and the holiness of life, in honor and gratitude for those who have gone before, with love and compassion for those who dwell among us, and with hope and faith for the generations to come. And now, because Marianne's taking a day off, we will have a video for the hymn, which is in the gray hymnal. If you want to follow along in the gray hymnal, it's 288, All Our Architects. I've heard the video and it's really great.
and secure shall tomorrow find its place.
If you are young in body or spirit, please join me on the rug for Time for All Ages. There we go. Okay. Thank you all for coming up here. We are going to read a story called Not Quite Snow White. I wonder if you guys have ever heard the word exclude stuff. So does that remind you guys of maybe something you might have experienced with other kids? Sometimes it hurts a little, huh? But she made it through. She got to the end and she did what she loved. And I hope all of you guys get to do that too. Okay. If everybody could create an arch and we will sing the kids out to the classroom. Almost there. Okay. I don't know.
At this time, I would like to invite, for starts, a few people who would be willing to pass baskets, seeing how my basket passer is busy with Zoom. So if I could have some help. Thank you very much. So we'll take this time to help support this congregation, which means so much to all of us. Those of you who are on Zoom, there is a link in the chat so that you can make your offerings that way. And with that, we will have a little bit of music, I believe.
There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling him he's got to beware. It's time we stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. There's battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds are getting so much resistance from behind. You got to stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. What a field day for the heat. 1,000 people in the street, singing songs and carrying signs. Mostly say hooray for our side. It's time we stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. paranoia strikes deep. Into your life it will creep. It starts when you're always afraid. Step out line, the man come and take you away. We've got to stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop.
Now, if you would join me in the dedication of our offering. We dedicate ourselves and our offerings to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of love we call community, both within and beyond these walls.
Oh. Well, you don't need to see me for me to start this, so I will go ahead and maybe the camera will change. I invite you to join me in a guided meditation focused on openness. There we go. The service today may cause feelings of defensiveness or discomfort. Let us prepare our minds to be open to new perspectives. Please close your eyes. Adjust your posture so you are sitting comfortably. Focus your attention on your breath, moving between the space just beneath your nostrils. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold if you can. Now breathe out, 1, 2, 3, 4. Continue this pattern as I guide you through this meditation. This exercise stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, so we relax and focus. Observe your breathing. Observe your breath moving through your body. Notice how feelings of irritation or worry pass through your mind. Observe these psychological phenomena mindfully. Don't attach to thoughts. Just notice how they come and go. Remind yourself that your feelings are normal and they will pass. Remind yourself that you are surrounded by people who value and respect you. Sometimes being uncomfortable is unavoidable when you're trying to be better. Refocus on your body. Relax your forehead, your shoulders, your hands. Refocus on your breath. You should start to feel calm. Notice the feeling of inner peace. Meditate on it. Remind yourself that you can recreate this emotion anytime you like. Now let us all unite in our shared stillness for a moment. Please gently open your eyes. Our reading today is an excerpt from a speech given in 1967 by Martin Luther King Jr. during a visit to Stanford University. I did not do this on purpose. It's a coincidence, but I wanted to note that the reading from my last sermon was a speech by Sojourner Truth, given exactly 100 years before this speech. Both speeches share a sentiment that it takes far too long for change to come. And the time between them reinforces the point. We're testing your patience today, just so you know. I don't have a specific date, but the year 1967.
It is the notion almost that is something in the very flow of time that will miraculously cure all evils. And I've heard this over and over again. There are those, and they're often sincere people, who say to Negroes and their allies in the white community that we should slow up and just be nice and patient and continue to pray, and in 100 or 200 years the problem will work itself out, because only time can solve the problem. I think that is an answer to that myth, and it is that time is neutral. It can be used either constructively or destructively. And I'm absolutely convinced that the forces of ill will in our nation, the extreme righteous in our nation, have often used time much more effectively than the forces of goodwill. And it may well be that we will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the vitriolic words of the bad people and the violent actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence and indifference of the good people who sit around and say, wait on time. Somewhere we must come to see that social progress never rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts and the persistent work of dedicated individuals, and without this hard work, time itself becomes an ally of the primitive forces of social stagnation. And so we must help time, and we must realize that the time is always right to do right. Now there's a
It probably seems problematic for me to talk about racism or homophobia because I'm a cisgendered, heterosexual white person. Lived experience is the most powerful teacher, especially when the experience is negative. It is human nature to learn from those experiences as a form of self-preservation. Fearing for your life is an experience that is hard to describe, as are many of the painful experiences that are perpetuated by discrimination. I will never truly understand the experience of so many people for this reason. For most of my life, I felt I could only speak up for the groups I was a part of. I felt that I had no place interrupting hateful or hurtful words of others, even when I felt in my gut and my heart that I should. Over time, I learned I could speak up without speaking for others. I discovered how I could carry some of the burden. It is exhausting to fight centuries of institutionalized racism, sexism, ableism, homophobia, and other isms. The intersectionality of those identities makes advocating for yourself especially taxing for people who are part of multiple disenfranchised groups. For the global majority, it takes a lot of energy to face the inequity of life. Those of us who are privileged to carry less of the burden can spend our privilege. This concept is explained impeccably by Brittnay Packnett Cunningham. She says, the most important step is this: train yourself towards solidarity, not charity. You are no one's savior. You are a mutual partner in the pursuit of freedom. Lilla Watson, an Aboriginal activist and artist, once said, if you have come here to help me, you are wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together. Packnett continues, I want to be free. I want you to be free. And you aren't free until I am. Spend your privilege. And just when you think you've spent enough, spend some more. Packnett also said, you didn't earn it, so give it away. The truth of history and of the world as it is today has been intentionally hidden from all of us. Ignorance is not an excuse. It is a tool of oppression we must undo. Knowledge is so powerful. It can be a map to guide us on how to spend our privilege. You have probably heard the Nelson Mandela quote, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." A much less famous quote gives context to what Mandela meant. He also said, to a narrow thinking person, it is hard to explain that to be educated does not mean being literate and having a BA, and that an illiterate man can be a far more educated voter than someone with an advanced degree. We can all take an active part in promoting justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Everyone can open their minds and hearts. If we listen carefully and actively seek a better understanding, we can gain the required knowledge to effectively spend our privilege. You're probably still wondering, what does that look like? I think a story will help illuminate opportunities in your lives. I'd like to reflect on my first clear memory of sexism. I didn't know it at the time. I just felt it in my gut that I was not on a level playing field. In 8th grade, I asked my parents to play tackle football. I don't have any memory of them questioning it. They signed me up. There were many times over the course of the season I felt the impact of my otherness. I knew I had something to prove. My first practice, I pushed myself as far as I could. During a bear crawl drill, I started to lose my vision. I attempted to walk over to my coach and tell him something was wrong, and I blacked out. I woke up on the bleachers when practice was over. I knew immediately they would think I was weak because I was a girl. They wouldn't blame it on the fact that I missed the first week of conditioning practices. Injuries and other growing pains passed, and I became the nose tackle. This is a center position of the defensive line, and not exactly where they originally wanted me to play, but it was where I excelled. When the season ended and we went to the banquet, my dad came with me. The head coach talked about nearly all the players and how our season had gone. When he talked about me, everything he meant as a compliment was an insult. He said that he thought I would be as soft as the girls he coached for basketball, but I was tough. He said I was strong and hardworking for a girl. My father was beaming, so proud of me. I didn't have the words or understanding at the time to explain the way I felt. My coach didn't acknowledge the additional challenges I faced because of my gender. He wasn't impressed that I had been able to overcome the obstacles that were only put in my path and not the path of my teammates. Instead, I was exceptional. My worth measured only by how well I defied stereotypes of girls. When someone assumes you will fail and you don't, it is an insult, not a compliment, for them to tell you you did better than they expected. I wish someone would have spent their privilege and corrected my coach, publicly or privately. I wish my dad would have told me he was impressed with my athletic performance and that my coach was wrong for assuming I would be anything other than a good player. Speaking up when someone makes a comment that is based on a stereotype, it's just one example of how you can spend your privilege. We can also change the way we talk and educate others about the impact of word choices. For example, I recently learned that I should use the term enslaved people, not slaves. According to the National Park Service, ironically, enslaved people more accurately describes someone who was forced to perform labor or services against their will under threat of physical mistreatment, separation from family or loved ones, or death. It took me many years to unlearn defensiveness when faced with the reality of my contribution to perpetuating racism, sexism, ableism, homophobia, and other isms. It's uncomfortable to admit. You have made a mistake, and even if that mistake is unintentional or it seems small, owning our mistakes and committing to not just stopping them, but actively preventing them is a lifelong journey. I think the sentiment is best summarized by Maya Angelou's quote, "When you know better, you do better." Please join me and set an intention. Let us aim to find the strength in ourselves to acknowledge we have made mistakes and to choose to do better. Let us join in singing our closing hymn. Number 1037, We Begin Again in Love in the Teal Hymnal.
We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For remaining silent when a single voice would have made a difference. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our fears have made us rigid and inaccessible, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time we have struck out in anger without just cause, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For each time that our greed has blinded us to the needs of others, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For the selfishness that set us apart and alone, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For falling short of the admonitions of the Spirit, we forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love. For losing sight of our unity, we forgive ourselves and each other. evident and subtle, which have fueled the illusion of separateness. We forgive ourselves and each other. We begin again in love.
Our closing words are a poem called A Map to the Next World, written by Muskogee poet Joy Harjo, who is America's first Indigenous poet laureate.
I'm Joy Harjo, and this is A Map to the Next World. In the last days of the fourth world, I wish to make a map for those who would climb through the hole in the sky. My only tools were the desires of humans as they emerged from the killing fields, from the bedrooms and the kitchens. For the soul is a wanderer with many hands and feet. The map must be made of sand and can't be read by ordinary light. It must carry fire to the next tribal town for renewal of spirit. In the legend are instructions on the language of the land and how it was we forgot to acknowledge the gift as if we were not it or of it. Take note of the proliferation of supermarkets and malls, the altars of money. They best describe the detour from grace. Keep track of the errors of our forgetfulness. The fog steals our children while we sleep. Flowers of rage spring up in the depression. Monsters are born there of nuclear anger. Trees of ashes wave goodbye to goodbye, and the map appears to disappear. We no longer know the names of the birds here or how to speak to them by their personal names. Once we knew everything in this lush promise. What I am telling you is real and is printed in a warning on the map. Our forgetfulness stalks us, walks the earth beside us, leaving a trail of paper diapers, needles, and wasted blood. An imperfect map will have to do, little one. The place of entry is the sea of your mother's blood, your father's small death as he longs to know himself in another. There is no exit. The map can be interpreted through the wall of the intestine, a spiral on the road of knowledge. You will travel through the membrane of death, smell cooking from the encampment where our relatives make a feast of fresh deer meat and corn soup in the Milky Way. They have never left us. We abandon them for science. And when you take your next breath, as we enter the fifth world, there will be no X, no guidebook with words you can carry. You will have to navigate by your mother's voice, renew the song she is singing. Fresh courage glimmers from planets and lights the map printed with the blood of history, a map you will have to know by your intention, by the language of suns. When you emerge, note the tracks of the monster slayers, where they entered the cities of artificial light and killed what was killing us. You will see red cliffs. They are the heart, contain the ladder. A white deer will come to greet you when the last human climbs from the destruction. We were never perfect, yet the journey we make together is perfect on this earth, who was once a star and made the same mistakes as humans. We might make them again, she said. Crucial to finding the way is this: there is no beginning or end, and you must make your own map.
I'm going to read the benediction, 687 in the gray book, if you want to look for it. Go your ways, knowing not the answers to all things, yet seeking always to know one more thing than you know. Let's say together the words for extinguishing our chalice.
Please join me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please rise as you are able and join with me in our traditional closing of the service song. There are hand movements. If you want to follow those, I will be doing them, but if you don't, that is okay.